This episode is sponsored by quality and innovative Game Bore cartridges. Game Bore shot shells are the choice of world champion David Radulovich and 26 times world champion George Digweed MBE. White Gold and Dark Storm contain precision-made diamond shot, manufactured exclusively in England, and coupled with high-performance smooth velocities, providing less felt recoil. If you're serious about your scores, you have to shoot with the best. When every clay counts, make sure you never compromise. Game Bore is the most decorated FITASC and sporting clay shot shells in the sport's history. Available now throughout the U.S., exclusively from KL Ammo. Find them online at www.gameborus.com. Game Bore are simply the champion's choice. Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast with your hosts, Jason Rambo and Sean Alley. We bring you all things sporting clays. Our focus is bringing new shooters to the sport and helping all shooters by giving you the most useful info from coaches, pro shooters, gun clubs, product and service specialists. The Dead Pair Podcast, what every shotgun shooter wants to hear.
Paul?
Dead Pair.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Rambo. With me, the man that's large and in charge. How are you, your largeness, Mr. Alley?
Doing just some kind of wonderful.
Some kind of wonderful. Oh, my goodness. What did you drink before the show?
Not enough, apparently. So
Right. Oh, man. So what have you been up to?
busy. Just been busy. Shot a tournament last weekend up at Hillendale for the Grouse, the Grouse Federation, Grouse Society. And I know you had your family farm auction, had all that stuff going on. You couldn't make it, but great shoot. A lot of people out there. I think it was, I want to say 160 or 180 shooters out there. So that was great turnout for them.
Yeah. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I would have rather been shooting, to be honest with you.
I'm
It's,
sure. I'm sure.
A little stressful, but, we'll get through it. Speaking of getting through it, we've got a huge show. So Mark Baltazar is waiting on the phone.
Right.
He'd like to talk about the AFS Nationals, and we've had some questions on that, so hopefully this will answer some of those questions. After which, we're going to go to Brad Kidd. He's going to join us. Be nice to catch up with Brad. Nobody's heard from him for a while.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from him.
And then questions for the coaches with Don Grant. We've had a ton of mental questions.
She's become one of the little all-stars here. Everybody wants to talk to her. Ask her what's wrong with my brain.
Yeah, for sure. And then also we got our vests. So we're going to talk about that here pretty quick too.
Yeah, no doubt.
But hey, Mark just texted me. He's ready to go. Let's get Mark on the phone.
Let's do it.
All right, on the phone with us is Mark Baltazar. How you doing, Mark?
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me back.
Oh, good, Mark. I'm glad to see you back here. We want to talk a little bit about the upcoming Nationals and lay down some info for everybody.
American Field Sporting
Nationals. I'm sorry. My bad.
How's things been? Well, first of all, Mark, how you been, man? How's things going?
Good. Building a new game for all of us to play and compete in is pretty time consuming, a little bit more than I thought, but it's rewarding because two things: a lot of people are shooting and enjoying it, and the help that I'm getting from the community around rules and people becoming judges. I'm blown away by that. How many people are just willing to donate their time? So it's great. Things are great.
Well, we say it all the time. It's a great community of people that do this sport, and it's just nice and refreshing to be able to have people help you out like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys know how much I love American Field Sporting. I mean, I just think it's cool to see it growing like it is.
Yep,
So.
absolutely. I shot my first round a couple weeks ago, so.
Did you shoot it at Dan's place a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, he had the white course, I believe is what it was.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Dan and Christina have been their continued support of this game has been overwhelming. I always see it pop up on their schedules, and I go, "Wow, thank you guys. You're really supporting us well. I really appreciate it." Plus, the man throws amazing clays. His FITASC and Sporting are great. If people haven't been there, they should go there. He does amazing work.
It's world class. I mean, it really is. It's hard to keep saying that, but his stuff is definitely world class.
Yep.
For sure. So, Mark, let's talk about this AFS Nationals. It's June 30th through July 4th at Northbrook, correct?
That's correct.
And now I know you had stated that it's a 225 bird main. What is that like going to be like a white course or a red course or which? How are you doing that?
Yeah, so we're basically going to do a 225 bird main. We're going to have 2 rotations. The way we're going to work the rotations is we're going to have a Wednesday rotation that's going to have 150 targets on Wednesday and 75 targets on Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we're going to do a second rotation of 75 birds each.
Wow.
Yeah, and basically what we're doing for the main is, since it's the 4th of July weekend and this is all about America, our main is going to be red, white, and blue. So
Oh,
we're shooting,
cool.
Sweet.
we're shooting 3 fields of red, 3 fields of white, and 3 fields of blue. Now we're not forgetting green, and we're going to do a side event, which is going to have its own set of awards of 100 bird green. So there'll be 4 fields of green that people will be able to shoot as a side event.
Nice.
And at this point, no problems in getting enough field judges to do all this?
Well, that's interesting you say. So Northbrook has monthly shoots, and sometimes their monthly shoots are twice a month. They've had well over 200 people at each of their monthly shoots. So
wow.
It's really great response. And they did that early, with COVID coming in last year. They said, people are not going to be traveling. Let's give them something to do. And they started their monthly, and it's just grown and grown and grown. And what they've done over the past 6 months is add American Field Sporting side event of 50 birds and then split that with VTAS 50 birds. And they've been running through all the colors just to get the club and all the people in the area, aware, comfortable, and having fun with American Field Sporting. And at the same time, they've been bringing in more and more people and training them up as field judges so that they're ready for this nationals, as well as so that they can be a source for Pete Malloy up in Wisconsin for the regionals coming up in August.
Good deal.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, if memory serves me correct, you got quite the purse at stake here, right?
Yeah, Brett said, let's make this real. Let's make this like a real national event, and let's give people, reasons to be there. So Brett put up and the club put up a $5,000 HOA, and that's definitely going to be one of the big purses this year for HOA. Nationals last year raised their HOA to 10,000. I know there's a thing coming up in Ohio in July. That's a pretty big purse, and this 5,000 is, I believe, equal to or better than all the regionals out there. So yeah, there's big money in this, and because we want to treat it like it's a national event. This year is our first one, and we really want to celebrate it. And we thought, just not making it another event to go to. Let's put the money behind it as well, and that's what's being done.
That's awesome. That kind of purse right there. That's cool that you guys are doing that. I mean, I think more clubs. You can't do that on a monthly shoot or a weekly shoot or whatever. But for bigger events like that, I think the HOA and the purses should be a little bit bigger. I know it's hard to come up with that kind of money. But it's nice to give something back to the shooters.
Yeah.
Jason, I've over the past year, my eyes have just opened, being with clubs. I've been with a lot of clubs over the past year, and seeing the effort that they put in and the work that they put in and the actual returns they get, you would be surprised, like what little return there is. I mean, they do it, not like they lose money, but they do it because it's part of their schedule and it gets people to come back. Like after every national, everybody who's local to the area for the next 3 or 4 weeks, people spend a whole bunch of money coming back to work on those targets,
Right.
So they do it, and they do make money. They don't lose money, but they don't make the kind of money, at least I thought they did. And it just makes me more, gives me a lot more like just belief and amazement in them of what they're doing for us as shooters, and certainly what these people have done for American Field Sporting.
Yeah, I guess, how do I say this? I wasn't really like leaning on the club to come up with more money. It would be nice if we could have more sponsorships involved in some of these shoots to help the club fund that and have those kind of purses. What the clubs do is amazing. I mean, we've seen firsthand here locally what these clubs do and what it takes to put on an event. And,
It's a ton of work.
oh my gosh, it really is. So hats off to Northbrook for putting this event on with you. And I know how much work you're putting on behind the scenes, Mark. So really cool. And what I like about AFS, again, here we go. You've got a flip-flop contest, and this is what makes it fun.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, this is what makes it fun, man. I mean, it doesn't have to be all prim and proper out there. We could have some fun and still do a good competition. So,
I don't know if I've said this before, but Lana, my wife, and I went to Thailand last year to their Grand Prix, which was the Asian Grand Prix, and it was about 200 people. And nobody left the club afterwards, and it was the most convivial spirit I've ever been around. And then when we were done at the club, everybody went to the same hotel, and there really was community, and it was amazing. And like I've said before, when you step in the box, this game couldn't be more serious. But once you're outside of the box, let's have some fun, and that's what our flip flop contest is. One of our core 12 rules is flip flops, and we did that so we could have some fun with it. And people have posted on the Facebook page some pretty funny flip-flop pictures. So we're going to have a flip-flop contest. And the way that we're going to work it is people who come to the shoot, who are participants in the shoot, can take pictures of their flip-flops, put them up on the Facebook page, the American Field Sporting Facebook page. And the flip-flops that get the highest votes, first, second, and third, are the highest votes from the American Field Sporting group community, which is about 3,500 people. We have about 3,500 people. We're going to give away a first, second, and third prize of $300, $200, and $100. So just some fun. And we're going to see some damn ugly feet up on that Facebook page.
I was going to say, Jason and I better go get our pedicures now.
Yeah, exactly. So listen,
I've never had a pedicure in my life.
Yeah. So, and we're also going to have barbecues, that kind of stuff. We're going to try to make it feel like a 4th of July picnic a bit, at the clubhouse. So we're going to have some fun with that.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, for this event, you're on Score Chaser, correct?
Yeah, Northbrook is on Score Chaser. They've adopted the platform, and yep, that's where you sign up.
Gotcha. And are you guys going to stay at Northbrook next year?
So it's funny you bring that up. We've been thinking, our nationals can't move. The NSCA nationals can't move just because of the scale of it. There's very few places that can do it, but and AFS nationals could certainly flow like a U.S. Open. And we're playing with the idea and, want to talk to people about hosting, making this a moving nationals in the second half of the year. We're doing it over the 4th of July, but it could be any time in the second half of the year. So anybody that's interested in hosting AFS nationals, love to hear from you and help grow the game and give you another opportunity to generate funds at another event. So,
you know what I think would be cool? I've talked to several people. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get down to the Southeast Regional. I've talked to several people that was down there, and they said Dominic really, broke out all the stops. I guess that was an over-the-top event, over-the-top regional. So I think it'd be cool to have it down there. But, who knows? We'll see what the schedule holds.
Dominic has been a huge supporter of the game. He brought us in early and, on one of our test runs. And then he was the first host of the Game Board Classic, like just a few weeks before his regional that he was planning for. So he's been a great supporter of the game, and I really appreciate it. But it can go anywhere and everywhere. Dom's place is a great place to do it. It's like, but we'll entertain all conversations, and not only entertain them, go out and start a few of our own.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You recently had a post, I believe it was on Facebook, about your scorekeepers, AFS officials, if you will. Yep. How's that coming along?
So we, last year, one of the biggest things that came clear to me is how important the judge was. Guys, we experience that all the time. You got somebody who isn't paying attention, a kid in sporting, they're bored out of their mind and they don't see a chip. It's like, your game you can win or lose on that point. And in FTASC, it's even more important because, there's a lot of rules and a lot of ways to to play the game correctly. Well, the same thing with American field sporting. There's a set of rules. The difference with all the other games is there's a lot of people walking into American field sporting that don't know the game. And so they're looking to the field judge to really be the person to help guide them. And
Right.
we've created an American field sporting state department, and we're calling our field judges ambassadors because they really are the ambassador of the game. When you walk into a field, they are the ambassador because they're going to help guide you and give you the boundaries and really try to make your experience good, fun, entertaining, and enjoyable so that you want to shoot it again. Like if you're a field judge that doesn't know what's going on, the game's a mess for you and suddenly squads are late and all that. So we created an online testing site and you access that through the American Field Sporting website, americanfieldsporting.com, and there's a field judge page where there's all the tools people need to, study up. So it's the rule book, the scorecard, and the ambassador handbook, which is basically a short guide reminder for people who are judges or want to be judges, what sort of the keys are. Plus, there's a link to an online test, which has about 50 questions. You need to score 80%. And if you do, then we set up a phone call. Liz Seibert is our head judge and is running this entire program. You set up a phone call with her. You have about a 10 or 15 minute phone call, and then you're certified. You get a nice little certificate, you get a little ID and a lanyard, and you're on your way. You're certified as a white level judge. We have red and blue. And by doing this, we almost have 50 people who are judges, and we're in a third of the country already. So there's field judges everywhere. And if you have at least one field judge at your tournament that's certified, you're on your way to having a very successful shoot that's going to engage people, that's going to have your shooters happy, that's going to make a successful game and have people come back. So we're really excited about everybody's participation. People have jumped in. We've had over 60 people take the test, and so we're well on our way with it.
Well, it sounds like good things are definitely happening then.
Cool. So is there anything else you wanted people to know, Mark?
Well, I just want to know, it's so interesting. I was at a shoot recently, the Seafood Blast, and had a lot of people coming up and saying, when is it coming to the Northeast and when is it coming here? And, it really is up to the clubs to decide to want to do it. I'm not ringing up people saying, hey, when is, would you throw American Field Sporting? I would love shooters to ask their clubs, and then the clubs reach out, because I don't want to be bugging clubs. But we continue to grow. Coming up this month, we're going to be a first time in Pennsylvania, first time in Louisiana, first time in Colorado, continuing in a bunch of other countries. So we're expanding to states around the U.S. Louisiana, we're going to be at the Louisiana State, as well as a second shoot, and that's sort of prepping for the Southeast Regional, where American Field Sporting's last stage of the Game Boy Classic is going to be. So they're getting their judges ready and all that. People like Dan Bailey continue to throw it. So people are not just only throwing it once, they're throwing it over and over again. And our international presence continues to expand. Canada continues to throw it and has a shoot this weekend. Australia continues to throw it. Sweden is having a shoot either this weekend or next weekend. And Norway was going to have one, but COVID has gotten in the way, so they've delayed to later in the year. So the footprint's expanding, so it's exciting. Makes us feel great that people are shooting it, enjoying it, continuing to do it.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, that is super cool, Mark. I love hearing that. So,
well, I really do appreciate you guys giving the game and us an opportunity to get the word out to folks. There's still as many people say when you come in to our club, just as many people go, what the hell is American Field Sporting? So
I'm sure. Sure.
Well,
so the more people that learn about it and the curiosity goes, the more this game's going to spread.
Well, it's our pleasure to do this because, Sean and I both shot it. We love it. I think it's awesome. Now, I know Sean's only shot one of the fields, but
Yep.
I'm so excited about it because it's fun. It's a new discipline for clay shooting, and it's just another side event right now that we can shoot at our clubs. But I like it when clubs throw an all-on American field sporting event, with having at least 2 fields up. I don't know. It's a ton of fun. I encourage people to go out and do it.
Well, that's what National is. Every side event, we have 525 targets in addition to the main and the 100. We have a bunch of side events, and they're all American field sporting. So there's your opportunity to come and get your fill of American field sporting all in one place.
That's so awesome. That's really, really cool. I hope this just keeps on growing for you, Mark. I really do. So.
I appreciate it, guys. Yep.
Well, hey, listen, we got to catch up with Mr. Kidd. He's waiting on us. But Mark, thank you for spending the time coming on and explaining this. Hopefully this will answer some questions for people, and we'll definitely be seeing you soon.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Take care.
Bud. AFS Nationals, Mr. Alley, what do you think?
Exciting. I mean, I shot my first round with it. I really like it. I can see it's going to have big potential.
Yeah, but you didn't get to shoot all the fields, man.
No, I didn't, but I mean, I got a taste of it, and again, I think it's going to be a load of fun for anybody to try.
Yes, for sure. Well, you can tell this is a busy night. My phone is blowing up. Mr. Kidd is ready to go.
Yeah, let's get him on.
So let's get him on, and let's, by the way, Brad Kidd's segment is brought to you by Atlas Traps. Thank you, Atlas Traps. We're going to go to a quick commercial with Atlas Traps and come right back on with Brad Kidd. American-made Atlas Traps are made right here in Kansas and feature the finest quality, innovation, and support in the business. Atlas Traps are made using aircraft-quality aluminum and stainless steel to ensure your traps will outlast the competition.
So whether you're an individual needing a private trap for practice and recreation, or a club needing to outfit your entire facility, family-owned and operated Atlas Traps can suit all your needs.
Visit atlastraps.com to see the full line of commercial and recreational traps and accessories. With prices that won't make you see red and quality that won't leave you feeling blue, Atlas has the finest equipment available. RE Ranger, you can't hit what you can't see. With 14 clay sight lenses manufactured by Carl Zeiss Vision, Ranger lenses add target clarity and contrast no matter the lighting condition. Visit RERanger.com for all your shooting eyewear needs. Free shipping and returns in the U.S. on orders of $90 or more. And if you use the code DEADPAIR at checkout, you will save 10% off your order. See it further, see it faster, see it with precision with RE Ranger.
All righty, joining us right now, we've got Brad Kidd on the phone. Brad, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, guys. Appreciate y'all having me on the show. I'm a big fan.
Oh, man, we're happy to have you.
Hey, I heard you're walking with a little bit of a hitch in your giddy up now. Well, what happened to you?
You guys, news travels fast, huh?
Bad news travels fast, bro.
Unfortunately, I wish I had like a great story. I'd like to say like I was stopping a robbery and I saved a baby, but I turned my ankle day 2 of the Southeast Regional in the morning, loading up the carts before we were going to shoot feed task. I just kind of stepped on the back part. It was a little slippery. It was kind of dusty, and it just rained. I had 2 guns in my hand, and kind of a freak thing. I just severely sprained my ankle, so I was hobbling around all weekend.
Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, I heard you were going up in the box with a crutch. I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, it wasn't, it was honestly, it was kind of a fun challenge the first day. Like, I could barely walk, and I shot 93 on the feed task, 95 on the 5 stand, and went out the next day and shot 98 in the super sporting. The main event, I struggled. There was a few pairs that kind of put you out wide. I just couldn't turn and get to and whatnot. So it was kind of, honestly, it was kind of fun, kind of having to overcome the challenge and, not give up, still go out there and compete. And I did okay, a little, like to have done a little bit better, but given the circumstances, I'm not too disappointed.
Well, let me ask you, this wasn't in our notes here, but since you brought it up, speaking of the Southeast Regional, Todd, he got the overall with I think it was a 184. That seems like a really low number. Now, unfortunately, Sean and I weren't able to make that shoot. Do you feel the targets were over the top, Or do you think they just really push people to stay focused?
I wouldn't say over the top. All right. Now, they were incredibly challenging. They're definitely going to be too much for some people. There was a lot of speed. There was a lot of big towers. The towers are a bit of 100-foot. I don't know, maybe bigger. They had one on every course. They just do a lot of big speed, big crossers. It was a really fun, challenging, entertaining course. Great variety of targets. There wasn't a target really on any event, any day that I looked at and I felt like it wasn't hittable. So I felt like everything was fair. Everything, the visibility was good enough. It just didn't let up. They didn't throw you any gimmies. Everything was a challenge to hit. So it was just a really tough course. I didn't feel like it was over the top, but it just depends what level of difficulty. It's all opinion based. What level of difficulty do you think is right?
Sure, sure.
Obviously that course is not going to please the masses. A lot of people are going to really struggle and, have a hard time, but it's a regional championship. So it's fun to me to get to, we don't get to see that challenging of a course that often. So it was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah,
well,
good deal.
I think that was well said what you said there, because, everybody's got to shoot the same targets. And if you're a lower class shooter, like, me, I'm only an A class shooter, Sean's double A. Guess what? Everybody else in your class got to shoot the same thing. So, I like challenging targets. I think when you go out and you see a lot of 100 straights or, 98s and 99s in the Masters class, and, you got guys in our lower classes like we're in that are shooting in the high 80s, low 90s. Sometimes you just kind of feel like, well, that maybe they didn't challenge you enough,
Yeah, but I mean, it's sometimes that's maybe a little more fun for somebody in D class or C class, where
that's true.
The challenge being a little over top. You don't want to alienate anybody. You want everybody to go out there and have a good time. The prelim was a little softer. The 5-stand and the super sport weren't too over the top. So there were some other events where they dialed it down a little bit, and then the fee task and the main event were much more challenging. Now the thing about, you can't just gauge it by the scores. The thing about the scores, the fee task was probably near as challenging as the main event. I mean, 180. Don't get me wrong, 184 is a great score, but it wasn't unachievable. All right. It was, when I look at that score, I kind of feel like, man, I could do that. I feel like I could beat that. 192 on that fee task, like, good luck. That was, it was unbelievable. So you can't really just solely gauge it on the score. Sometimes it's a crazy good score that wins. Sometimes a score wins that you think is a good score, but it's not anything, that it's maybe a few light of what you would think would have won that. So.
Right. Well, Brad, with you coming on the show here, probably one of the biggest questions that people write in when they find out we're going to have a pro shooter on, and, that's also a coach, is what style do they teach? And I mean that as far as like swing throw or sustain lead or pull away. What do you teach and why? Tell me why.
Okay. When we talk about like a technical approach, I do a little bit of all that.
Okay.
At the same time, I kind of put all that in the same category too. I'm just trying to get to the target and get in sync with it. And sometimes that move to the target, I come from behind it to get to the target. Sometimes I'm going to like a maintain lead. I'm going to, the bird never gets to me. I'm going to a space ahead of it and, maintaining that the whole way. When it comes to like a narrow quartering angle shot, I'm typically, getting to that bird coming from behind it, but I'm still sustaining a position. I'm still matching the speed from maybe the back edge, maybe the front edge of the clay, depending on the speed and the angle. So maintain is a big, kind of core element of what I'm doing, but I'm not always maintaining the lead. I'm maintaining a position that relates to lead. Sometimes it's the whole lead. Sometimes it's percentage of it. There seems to be like a little bit of pull away or a little stretch to the finish with most of my shots, but not all. There's plenty of shots that I'm kind of inserting on the whole lead. A lot of it depends on window of opportunity, how much time you have with the bird in the air. When you start getting in complicated true pairs, like you can call yourself a pull away shooter all you want, you might not really have time to pull away on that second shot, or you might have to kind of get to the lead and dump it on that first shot to have time to get to the second shot. So you really have to be able to do it all. And it's a mix.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, Brad, hey, as a coach, one of the questions we get a lot is, do you work with a lot of new shooters, or do you prefer that someone have a little bit more experience under their belt before they come to you? What kind what kind of students are you looking for, or what kind of fits your structure of teaching?
I wouldn't say I'm necessarily looking for a student in particular. It's enjoyable on both ends of the spectrum.
Okay.
When you get a new shooter, you've got no bad habits. You can kind of, mold them right from the get go. And sometimes that can be really easy. Sometimes it could be more challenging because they don't have any experience and you're starting, kind of from scratch. With a more experienced shooter, sometimes it could be a lot of fun because you're really working on things at a high level, and working on the game at a high level is very, very enjoyable to me. But at the same time, you might have an experienced shooter that's got some really deeply ingrained habits that are hard to break. So, it's I don't have a preference one way or the other necessarily. I find enjoyment and challenges in both. But in terms of, it's like being in any other business. You're looking for customers, you're looking for clients, and I don't turn anybody away.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of guys, they want somebody that's, been shooting for a while, and then there's other coaches that are like, no, we want them from the very get-go so we can prevent those bad habits from forming that, and have to work on trying to break them later. So that's
there's a little bit of both. Sometimes you've got guys they've got bad habits ingrained, but they're a little easier to change things. Sometimes you've got people that are a little tougher to change. Sometimes you get a beginner that just right away you're like, yeah, just hold the gun like this, and they're like, oh, okay, like this, and you're like, okay, yeah, wow, that's pretty awesome. And then sometimes it could be a struggle with beginners. There's challenges, and you're gonna face either way.
Right.
Gotcha. All right, let me ask this one here. So you coach out of the South Florida Gun Club. Has this always been pretty much your home base?
No, for about 4 or 5 years now. I moved here from Houston. I used to spend a lot of time, I lived in the Houston area. I'd spend most of my time coaching at Greater Houston Gun Club, and then a little bit of the other clubs around, Able Ammo, West Side, American Shooting Center. So I came here from Houston. There was probably a lateral move work-wise. Houston's a big shooting hub. This area is a big shooting hub as well. A lot of shooters here. It's honestly just more the season that you stay busy worked a little better for my family life. So I got young kids in school.
Gotcha.
I could kind of stay home and work during the winter here a little more so than I could in Houston. The winter kind of dies off. It's more of a hunting culture, so everybody kind of stops shooting clays. So it just worked better for me to be able to stay home and work during the months my kids are in school, and it kind of, the season's kind of off. It's too hot in the summer here, so everybody kind of dies off a little bit. And that's when I can take the family on the road and I can work on the road a bit.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
So this is a question we ask everybody that we get on the show, and the reason why is because everybody's got a different answer, and it's always very interesting to hear their answers. What is something that you see needs to be done to help growth in our sport, or what changes do you think needs to be made?
Well, I guess that depends on whether you're speaking from a competitive level or from a recreational level. The sport's exploding recreationally, so it's a really popular game. It's growing like crazy. It seems like things are going pretty good in that avenue.
Yeah, I would say definitely. I was more leaning towards the competitive side. Speaking of the NSCA, because I think the last study was done. It's like 13.5 million people break a clay target every year, and then we've got like 5,000 active members at the NSCA. So it's like, how do we capture that? How do we bring those people in?
If I were to be critical of the NSCA, I would say on the marketing side, we lack a big marketing department, of a creative, good presence online. Maybe we could do a better job there. I think that'd be a big help. You could talk about things like our class system. Our class system could be better. It's maybe a little broken. It doesn't necessarily do a great job of keeping the people. You're not necessarily shooting against guys that are of your ability level. You kind of just move through the classes and punch up depending on how many tournaments you go to. So maybe there's be some things that could be looked at there, because I think you lose a lot of guys that get to master class and can't be competitive, so they don't want to shoot tournaments anymore. I think we lose a segment of shooters too that after they come out of kind of high school and college, there's a gap there where it's tough to stay in the sport. It's maybe tough to make a living, doing something that can be a road towards becoming a professional shooter or something of the sorts, a coach. So I think there's probably that younger adult shooter that we could figure out how to keep and not lose, after they come out of these youth programs. Maybe some online presence, maybe a better class system, but I don't have a great answer. That's a tough question. If it was so simple, we'd be doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's funny you brought that up, because when we had Kevin DeMichael on, he brought that up, that the missing age group seems to be from about 20 to 30, somewhere in there. Because
we can't afford to do it.
Right, exactly. I mean, you get this kid that's in college and he's got a choice. He can either go buy a flight of shotgun shells or eat that week. He's got a choice. So
exactly.
Yeah, it's hard to keep them. They come out of the SCTP, they're on fire, and then they go to college, and it's like, yep, I'll see you in 10 years when I can afford this again.
Yeah, no, it did. It kind of happened for me, not in the same way, but I quit when I was probably 18 years old. You're out of the house, you're on your own, can't afford to do it. And I had started a business and kind of, got my career going. And actually it was like the housing crisis. And I started a mortgage company, and the housing crisis in 2007 ended my mortgage company. And I was good friends when I was kids with like Corey Cruz, Anthony Matarese, guys like that. So I was kind of like, all right, my buddies do this professionally. Maybe I'll call them up and, go, goof around and shoot a little bit, while I figure out my next move. And then, here I am, 15 years later, still doing it.
Blink of an eye. Well, getting back to getting more shooters into the sport, and particularly focusing on new shooters, oftentimes we hear people get frustrated, and me and Jason have been there as well. At when you're starting out, you're learning the game, and you might get a little impatient. There's kind of a apparent lack of progress, or you feel like you're not making progress quickly enough with your game. To be realistic, we all know that it takes time. What do you say is a reasonable amount of time that a new shooter should realize they need to spend with their gun to get really comfortable with it and learn how to shoot most of the targets that are going to be out there on the course?
Yeah, I don't know if that question can be answered. I mean, you got guys that are different levels of natural ability,
Yep.
Go talk to Bill McGuire and talk to him about the first time he shot a tournament. He kind of shows up there with a pump shotgun or something and, shoots 94,
Right.
So, day one, he was, he was doing just fine. I'd say, it depends on what you have at your range. Like, like a place like I'm at South Florida, we've got 4 courses. They range from really difficult, to easy. So there's a little something for everybody. That's a place that I can go and experience every target that I could possibly see and really get good. If you're at, like a smaller town, smaller market, maybe you've only got access to a trap and a skeet range and a 5 stand. It's going to take you a little bit more time. You don't, learning that whole target library and everything, it might be more difficult. Coaching's a part of that too. Do you have a good coach kind of setting you on the right path when you spend your time at the range, or you're working on the right things? So it's a tough question to answer. You go back to the kid that just won the, Todd Hitch, who just won that regional. He's been shooting for like 4 or 5 years. That's crazy to me. So, to me, it takes, 4 or 5 years just to get halfway decent, this kid's winning in 4 or 5 years in. So, I mean, that you could really answer that question with any number of time. There's
but I mean, he's more the exception than the rule. I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
definitely
there are some phenoms out there. I mean, we know a couple of them that just went from E-class to master in a year and a half. It's just that's an amazing thing. But that's kind of like winning the lottery. It doesn't happen to everybody. It doesn't happen to most people.
Yeah,
so.
I'd say this too. I think a lot of it depends on your willingness to kind of go ahead and step in the deep end and learn how to swim. Jump in the deep end and learn how to swim. You hear people all the time, I'm not ready for a tournament. You're never going to be ready. You got to get out there and be terrible, over and over again and get your butt kicked. Yeah, learn from your mistakes. So if you're more willing to get your ego out of the way and get out there and get beat up and, get that experience, you're going to shorten that curve a little bit.
Well, everybody's favorite question to ask these days, and I'm sure you've got students coming to you with the same thing, with the scarcity of shells and ammunition, how do you recommend someone practice more efficiently with a limited amount of ammo? I mean, I know gun mounts in the living room every night are very important. You've advocated for that in the past. Always keep that gun handy every night. But when they do go out to practice, what do you recommend instead of volume, instead of quantity? What kind of quality are you recommending that they don't have to burn through as many shells?
Yeah, well, I'd say a couple things. Like one thing that I do a lot of, that I have my students do a lot of, is just dry fire exercises, where you're literally throwing a pair in the air and not putting shells in the gun and pulling the trigger. A lot of that's to kind of feel what's going on physically. Are you staying soft and relaxed and smooth and fluid through the shot? Are you really getting to and connecting and just making all the movements like you want to make? You wouldn't believe how effective that can be. So you could do some dry fire practice. I felt this, and I said this a bunch even before the, kind of the scarcity of ammo. When you make that trip to the range, you want to be efficient. Like, what are you going out there to accomplish today? You want every moment you have at the range, you want every shell you put in the gun, to be important. You want to learn something with every shot, whether it's a hit or a miss. So are you just cramming shells in the gun and banging away, or are you really taking your time? Are you really thinking? Are you really, trying to go work on something? I think the mistake people make is they go out and shoot to measure themselves, instead of making the goal to be, let's get better at something with this shot right here. So every time I put a shell in the gun, if I'm out practicing, I'm looking to improve, more so than just wanting to hit the bird and, feel good about it.
Right.
Gotcha. All right, let's see. I've got a great question here, and we get to ask this all the time as well. Any tools or gizmos that you're using in your game today that you feel actually help you as a shooter? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there. There's phone apps, the shot cam, there's alignment issues, sights, release triggers. I mean, all that stuff. I know some people use it, some people don't. Do you believe in any of it, or do you use any of it yourself?
Not a lot. I mean, with shot cam, I play with it a little bit. I think it's kind of a cool tool. You can see what's going on, and you can make some cool videos with it. I don't really have any gizmos like that. I mean, there's a couple funny little things I use. Like, I like to have a rosin bag, like a baseball player would use, and I use that to keep my hands dry. And so if you got sunscreen, you got oil from the gun on your hands. I like to have real tacky hands and a good handle on the shotgun, so I use a rosin bag. For a little bit better grip on the gun. But outside of that, there's nothing that comes to mind, nothing special that gizmos I'm using.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, ask him your favorite question.
Right now? Ask him my favorite?
He's chomping at the bit with this one.
All right, we asked this quite a bit, but if you can think back, and it could be last year, 10 years ago, whatever, what is one small change or thing that you changed with your shooting that made the biggest impact?
I think I would say it's probably 5, 6, 7 years ago. I started taking a lot more seriously the physical game, the level of tension in my hands, balance, form, movement, things like that. That was an important change to make, or starting to really think and look at that stuff and take it seriously and figure out how I wanted to hold the gun and move, and what level of tension I wanted to have. I think probably that's something that would have helped me back from being able to be competitive, with how good everybody is today. So that was probably a big change for me. I never really thought about it like that. It was more mental, and technique was kind of everything to me. And I think that allowed me to understand gun fit a little bit better, have a better form, a better mount, understanding how to fit the gun a little bit better, how to feel like I'm more in the same place every time, every shot. So that would be a big change. It was probably 2009. I started playing with like a mental routine, a shot routine. I remember before that, I was like, what the heck are you guys talking about? A shot routine. So that was probably a big thing that I think the change it made. I kind of learned how to make it one shot at a time, as opposed to it always being the story of the course, the story of the station. I remember when I first implemented a shot routine, I got done shooting it for the first time. Like, I was always the guy, I could tell you every target, how hard it was, whether you should have hit it. I got done and I was like, what did I just do? I don't even remember I can't remember any stations. And it's kind of how I knew I was onto something. It really had become one moment at a time, one shot at a time, or one pair at a time. So starting to play with the routine, and just implementing things like that, a little better physical game, a little better mental game.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
So, Brad, I had a little practice session by myself there last week, and I asked this question to my coach, and I even asked it to David too, and both of them gave me very interesting answers, and I'd love to hear yours on this. So I was working on, it was a big Shundell, and no problems. I'm a pre-mounted shooter for the most part, and I thought, well, you know what, I'm getting ready to shoot some VTAC. I'm going to work on my low gun mount. My go-to method, so you understand, is my coach Bill, he calls it kind of like a hybrid pull away. It's a touch and go. In other words, I'm inserting dead on the target. I'm riding with it for just, a split second, and then I pull away from it. That's just my natural go-to method.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went to a low gun mount, I found myself inserting the gun in front of the target every time and doing more of a sustained lead. And I caught myself doing it. Now, again, I didn't have any problem breaking the target, but it was like, why am I doing that? Well, what caused that? Do you know? I mean, what's your answer to that?
I'd have to watch you shoot it to tell you a little more. You could say maybe you're getting some feel of the speed through the mount. The timing of your mount, you're getting some connection and some control with your hands. So you're getting a little more feel before the gun gets shouldered. So you're able to kind of make a move with that bird, and then as you get to the end, you've already got some feel. Where when you're in the gun, you're not feeling anything till you are touching that target. There's not really a timing mechanism to get to the bird. So maybe that could be part of it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I want to know what the other guy said.
Well, as far as David, we don't have enough recording here to explain everything he said. and David knows I'm teasing him if he hears this, but my goodness, that guy can go on now. And, my coach kind of seemed to think that the way I was picking up the target visually, as opposed from mounted to unmounted gun, he thought that had a lot to do with it as well.
Very well could.
Here we go. All right, here's one. Given the limited amount of time and money most weekend warrior shooters have, would you recommend beginning shooters spend their money on coaching, practice, or actually competing in real tournaments?
You know what? That's a big thing right now, and I don't mean to interrupt there, Brad, but I've had a lot of guys tell me that. It's like, well, I can afford to go to a tournament, I can go see my coach, or I can practice, but I can't do all three. So that's a good question, Sean. I'm interested to hear your answer, Brad.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your goals. If your goal is to get good at tournament shooting, and you only got enough money for coaching and practice, like if you want to go to a tournament, you're going to go to a tournament. I think a lot of it depends, what your goals are, what you're doing this for. If it's more for enjoyment, you find the coaching session more enjoyable, do that. If you find the tournament more enjoyable, do that. Part of it, like you want to get better, you got to do all three. But if you don't get good coaching, you don't know how to practice. If you're not really ready for the tournament, you can go and it just be a little over your head and you don't get as much value out of that. So I'm probably gonna have to say coaching. I think it's got to start there. So when you do practice, you know how to practice. When you do go to the tournament, you're at least at a level where you understand what you should do, and you can assess, whether you did a good job doing it or not, and kind of, learn from your mistakes. Where if it's just a little outside, a little over your head, a little out of your league, not necessarily a lot of value from that. So I'll probably say coaching.
Gotcha.
That's well said. This is another good one too that we get interesting answers from. I want to know your fondest memory in sporting clays, and it does not have to do with it doesn't necessarily have to be a win, Brad, but just like, you've been shooting for a long time, you've been very successful. Give us your fondest memory. What's the most fun Brad Kidd had at a sporting clay event?
Oh man, there's a lot of good times. It's a lot of years. All my best friends play this game. We travel the world together. So there's a lot of fond memories. Asking me that question, I guess a couple like exciting moments. Having a student do well. I had a guy coached pretty regularly, did well, and won the World FTASC in the veteran class. And he was a couple pegs behind me, so I got to watch him shoot his last 2 or 3 pegs. And I didn't want him to see me, so I'm like hiding like 50 yards back in the woods, watching him shoot, knowing he's got a chance to win. So that's exciting. I had a student that I shot the regional with in Vegas last year that just did really well. He's been shooting 4 or 5 years. He ended up finishing in the top 10. And it's kind of the same thing. Like I know he's on a good pace. I know he's right there. You almost like, you're not bringing up that he's shooting good to him because you don't want to make him nervous. You're kind of really watching every shot that he takes from behind him, and then almost pretending like you're, right. Like not a big deal, like we normally act, and then once he does good and runs that last stand, we all kind of go crazy and high five and whatnot. The memories like that are that you share with your friends and stuff are probably the most special.
Cool.
Gotcha.
All right, well, we've come to the most important question that everybody wants to hear is our rapid fire questions. Are you ready to go, Brad?
I'm ready.
Okay, what make of gun?
Zoli.
And barrel length?
32.
Okay, ported or no?
Not currently, but I have for a lot of my career shot Rhino ports.
Okay, custom or factory stock?
Factory stock.
And chokes fixed or screw in?
Screw in rhino chokes.
Screw and rhino chokes. And what's your preferred constriction for sporting clays?
I shoot 25 thousandths. I never take them out.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Shells.
I shoot Bernaghi Golds, a 1 ounce, 1250, 7.5.
Okay. And vest or shell bag?
I use a vest.
Okay. Brand?
Castellani.
Okay. And how about your glasses?
Pila.
Okay. And lastly, ear protection.
I use just regular old disposable foamies.
Gotcha.
You know, I found they protect well, and if you lose them, you're not, wanting to go cry.
I hear you. I hear you.
Hey, Brad, didn't I see you with the TSK stock a while back?
I did, but I use it more like for students.
Okay.
It's something we can kind of, set up to fish. You get somebody thinking about building a gun. Well, let's go try this out, see how much cash you like, that kind of stuff. I like the stock. It's just not, I've got my factory stock fit pretty well for me, so it's just not necessary for me. I think it's a great product, but I like to use it for students that are, maybe need some changes on their stock or thinking about building a factory stock.
Gotcha. I know you're a Zoli shooter. Did you hear the podcast we did with Paulo?
I didn't. I got to give that a listen, but what a great guy, huh?
Oh, man.
Awesome. Very
interesting. Very interesting.
He's definitely a gentleman, and I'm looking forward to meeting him this year at the Nationals. So,
yeah.
Speaking of which, what are your sponsors, Brad? Can you want to go ahead and give them a shout out?
Yeah, definitely. Zoli shotguns. I've been with these guys for more than a decade. I absolutely love that gun. A lot of people ask me, do you shoot it because because they pay you, or because I choose that gun, all day long. I really feel like it gives me the best chance. I feel so comfortable with it. So Zoli shotguns. I shoot Bernaghi ammo through Able Ammo, and really love that shell. Rhino chokes, Pila glasses. I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but I just can't come to me right now.
We put you on the spot, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. I gotta look at a list.
Well, we're fixing to be neighbors, Brad. I'm moving down there soon, so.
Oh, you're gonna love it, man.
Yeah,
I mean, God, we've got South Florida is one of the best gun clubs in the country, but we've got 2-3 other clubs in the area that are absolute world class. They're also in that conversation. So you got OK Corral, Quail Creek, Vero Beach Shooting Sports, South Florida's 4 gun clubs within 40 minutes of each other, and they're all world class. They're awesome. There's a tournament every weekend, every Saturday and Sunday. One of these clubs is putting on a tournament, so it's just a great play. If you like shooting sporting clays, it's a great place to be.
Heck
Well,
yeah.
That's my motive, not necessarily the wife's motive, but that's my motive. So I've had people tell me, "Oh, you're never going to take the heat down there." It's like, okay, so 3 months out of the year I got to live in the air conditioning, but up here, 6 months out of the year I got to live in the heater. So I mean, what's the trade-off?
It's nice for 7-8 months of the year. And honestly, I lived Houston way hotter than this place. I mean, you're on the coast, you kind of get a little of this ocean breeze. Yeah, look, it gets in the 90s. It's not cool by any means, but I've lived in much hotter places.
Well, you were from Houston. You know where the Woodlands is. I lived in the Woodlands for 5 years, which is about 40 minutes northwest of Houston. Mm-hmm. And for the first 2 years I was down there, I mean to tell you, I thought I was going to literally melt. I mean,
I was in Houston for like 5 years, and every summer we would have 100 days of 100-degree weather.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's not fat man's weather.
No, it's not. Everybody's like, "Are you hungry? Get something to eat." They're like, "Are you kidding me? I just want to go swimming."
Right.
So, there's a rule in Texas: you have to own a boat because it's the only way you can keep from spontaneous combustion. So, we spent most of our days at the lake, but. Yeah, it's kind of a mecca, if you will, down there in Florida, and that's what I love about it for sporting clays, if you will. So
yeah, it's a great place.
It's a great place to be, and then the state's wide open, restaurants are open. I mean, we're not wearing masks and stuff like that, so it's the political side of things is a nicer place to live. You're not as restricted, and then the shooting side of things are they're great.
But don't get me on the soapbox when it comes to politics, Brad. I got even more reasons.
Stop him. Put the brakes on him now.
Tons of people are moving to Florida. My neighborhood, I want to buy a house in my neighborhood. I own a condo. There's so many people moving here. The housing prices have doubled in my neighborhood because everybody's moving to Florida just to come where they can live their life. So it's a great place to be, man. You're gonna love it down here.
Well, speaking of Florida, how do people in your area get a hold of you if they want to take a coaching lesson? And what's the best way?
You can find my contact info on bradkidjr.com. Real easy to get a hold of. Give me a call, shoot me a text, email bradkidcoaching@gmail.com. And if you just Google Brad Kidd Jr., my website will pop right up. You'll find out all my contact info.
Sweet.
Awesome. Brad, are we going to see you up here for the Masters Class Championship at the end of July? Have you thought about that?
I'm not sure. It's maybe not. I would love to. There's so many shoots. You're on the road so much. I got 2 small kids. So I haven't committed to doing that one. I love it. I love, seeing what you guys are doing, the big payout and all that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to attend, but man, it sounds like a great shoot. I hope I can make it.
Yeah, Scott Graham that runs C4 up there, he's got some really cool stuff planned for you guys. I hope you could make it up. If not, I'm sure Sean and I'll catch up with you here soon to shoot.
Yeah, I'll see you guys somewhere sometime, man.
Well, Brad, we appreciate your time very much, sir. Really enjoyed having you on the show, and you're welcome back anytime, man. You got something you want to announce or you want to come hang out, man, you're more than welcome to.
Oh, it'd be awesome, dude. I'd love to come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good deal.
Yeah, and really appreciate what you guys are doing. This is a big thing for us, for the pros in this game, for our sport. So I love seeing you guys, get on and get us out there and get some information out there and give us a voice. It's awesome. Thank you guys for what you do.
Very, very appreciative of that. That's a high compliment coming from you.
Yeah, for sure. It's our pleasure, though. So
you got it.
Well, Brad, we're going to run, but thanks again, man. Really appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
Yeah,
right.
Thank you, Brad.
See you, man.
Take care, guys.
Uh-huh. All right, that was great hearing from Brad, man. It's always great talking to these top shooters, man. They've always got all kinds of great information to share.
I could talk to these guys all day long, to be honest with you. I mean, every one of them are full of knowledge, and I feel like I want to be a sponge from all of them. Plus, they're super cool guys, know.
No doubt.
And gals. So
yeah. And speaking of gals, we got a great one coming on here that everybody's been wanting to hear from.
Yes, my goodness, the amount of emails and comments.
It's actually been kind of surprising. It's like everybody's got a messed up head. It's not just us. So
I don't feel alone in the world.
I know,
anymore.
right? Yeah, it's like, no, we're not alone in this.
Right. Hey, this segment with Dawn is brought to you by Bear Pelt Vest. Sean, we've got our vests in.
Oh my goodness.
I had a chance to go out and shoot with mine. I did a bunch of practicing. Wow.
Yeah, and I wore mine to the Grouse Society shoot. So I actually used it in a competition and
So you used the game day vest.
I used the game day vest in competition, and I'm telling you, the more I wore it throughout the day, the more I liked it. Just the way it fits, the way it moves, the gun doesn't have anything to snag on. And the other thing that's kind of maybe silly, but I think is an important thing, your shell pockets, they have like an elastic band that keeps them closed.
Yes.
So if you take your vest off and throw it in the buggy for a minute, you're taking a bathroom break or you're going to get a drink or something, the shells don't come tumbling out or anything that's else in your pockets don't come tumbling out.
That doesn't sound silly at all because I'd take my other vest off and I'd still have, 25 rounds left between the two pockets.
And then half a dozen shells go rolling out on the floor.
And I gotta go pick up shells off the ground everywhere. But
little attention to detail. I mean,
absolutely.
It's a really nice vest, and I mean, we're not trying to sell this just because we got some. They're really cool. I mean, they're unlike any other vest you've shot with.
For sure, they're going to be game changers.
Oh, no doubt.
The game day vest, I haven't actually shot with it yet. I'm calling it the game day vest, competition vest, I guess is what it's called. I did probably 50 gun mounts with it in the house and just absolutely loved it. I did go out and shoot with the practice vest, and it's neither one of them are hot. Both of them breathe really, really well.
No, but I can see the practice vest.
It's a little bit lighter,
being that mesh material. I can definitely see myself wearing that more, through the June, July, August months because it's going to be a little bit cooler, a little more breathable.
Right, but there is just a little touch of weight difference. Notice, but it's even the game day vest is nowhere near the weight of what my previous vest was.
Yeah, I mean,
so
they don't
it's
feel
like you're wearing nothing.
Yeah, it's like they're not that stiff, bulky canvas leather stuff that we're all used to in all the other shooting vests. This is definitely something new, and they're definitely onto something.
Yeah, they're very cool. It's like you're just wearing a really comfortable shirt.
Yeah, and again, big thanks to Eric and Heather. Just a great product, and they turned out well, and got the nice big Dead Pair podcast logo on the back of them. They're great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. My wife and my sister and her kids were all over at the farm there when I was practicing, and I put that new vest on. Everybody's like, what do you got there? You know, I mean, they are sharp.
They're
looking,
very
man.
sharp. Oh, and by the way, I see that they actually put our logo on the website, so you can go under the different manufacturers' logos and stuff. And we've actually had a couple people contact us and say, "Hey, look here, I put the Dead Pair logo on my shell pocket." So that's very humbling and just really exciting for me and Jason to see that. I mean, no intention at all for that to happen, but man, we love you guys for doing it. And appreciate the support.
I was blown away by that when I saw that we had a few people send us pictures of their vests and it's got Dead Pair on. How cool is that?
Like we're doing something here. Wow, people are actually listening.
Right. Next thing you know, you're gonna be carrying around a Sharpie just so you can do autographs, aren't you, Sean?
Well, I don't know about that. Most people go running and screaming when they see me.
Yeah,
so.
well, so. Well, hey, listen, Dawn's waiting on us, so let's get to Dawn Grant, and these questions for the coaches, again, are brought to you by Bear Pelt Vest. Thank you very much, Bear Pelt. It's not just your vest, it's your new uniform.
Right. Okay, Dead Pair listeners, we've got the lady with the mental mind game. Dawn Grant has come on with us. Dawn, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well, thanks.
We've got a lot of questions from our listeners. We've had
my goodness.
An inundation of questions for you, and
Yes.
we've got picked a couple here for you to work on tonight.
That's awesome.
And just so everybody knows, we're not just picking two and throwing the rest of them away. We're keeping all these questions. So at some point, I'm going to quit putting it out there on social media,
Right, yeah.
and kind of get caught up with some of these questions because there's a lot of good questions. We just randomly picked two this week, so.
That's good. I feel like the mental game is becoming much more talked about, and people are much more aware about it than ever before in my career anyways.
And I think most of the top shooters realize that is really the plateau. That's where you got to go. Once you learn how to shoot, you can hit most of the targets. The battle is now with yourself and being able to, stay in the zone when you're out there on the tournament course.
Totally. Yeah.
You want me to take the first one? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Sean.
Okay, so the first question we have is from Stephen Gallagher. He says, lately I've been looking at my scorecard in Sporting Clays, and knowing how many I've dropped and how bad I shot on the last station has had an interesting effect on my shooting. Boy, have we all been there?
Yeah, really.
Seriously. I was told for years to put the last station out of my mind and only focus on the present. Well, by seeing how bad I did has made me a little angry with myself, and I'm starting to bear down and concentrate a little more on the task at hand. Is this a common practice amongst the top shooters?
Perfect. So I'm going to time myself. Otherwise, I can talk for hours.
Fair enough.
Not kidding. This is why I have full 2-hour lessons on some of these things in the online course. But the focusing on the score, I'm going to break down this question. Focusing on the score. There is pros and cons to focusing on the score. If you have a good, strong mental game, you can know your score and you can still be present and you can still be in the zone and you can still shoot well and you can be calm, cool, and collected and super focused and everything you need to be while you know your score. If you don't have a good mental game, then knowing your score can cause several different things depending on your personality. It can cause overthinking, trying too hard, trying to force shots, trying to duplicate shots, becoming too scared with your shots, even planning what you're going to do if you win. There's all these potential things and chatter that can happen with your mind if you know your score, if you don't know how to manage your mind. So that's what he's talking about here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is very common. It's common among all human beings that in some form or fashion, if they're too worried about their outcome and not enjoying the journey is the concept. And taking it one day at a time, taking it one moment at a time is a life saying. But in clay shooting, it's take it one target at a time. And that's a concept that's easier said than done. So not everybody knows how to do that. And it does take not only, understanding of the mind and some familiarity with it, but some true training of it. The forget about it and move on is something I address in some of my lessons. It's a very common concept that I think a lot of top instructors will actually coach their students and just forget about it. But it's also kind of a bro thing. Guys will pat each other on the backs and just say, hey, buddy, just forget about it. Let's go on the next station. And that's not really the best way to handle it, again, if you have a good mind game, what I suggest, and I actually have what I call a post-segment routine. It's how do I process information after something hasn't gone my way? Because there's what I call gold nuggets in the information. So if you have the end result or the end goal of wanting to be your best in your sport and maybe go to world champions and win and whatever else, depending on who you are, you can't evolve to levels that you want to evolve to unless you can stop and see where your weaknesses are. And if you don't stop to see where your weaknesses are because you're brushing them all under the rug, then your evolution's either not going to happen or it's going to happen slower. So anybody telling you just forget about it is telling you to ignore this opportunity to learn something that you can grow from. So I don't tell people that.
Gotcha.
I want them to look at it, but I need them to do it in a way that is effective and like efficient. So I say look for the gold nuggets.
Gotcha.
But first, I'd call it neutral data collecting. Like collect your data and don't just do it related to mechanics, because again, that's another issue. Is everybody's so about the physical and the mechanical that they don't know that there's this invisible layer that's the mental. So
Yeah.
the invisible layer is, was I doubting myself before I said pull? Was I too worried about how long I was in the cage and what everybody else was thinking? Like there's a lot of mental things that could be going on that
Gotcha.
can cause you to miss a target. And some of those are immediately correctable. If you realize you said pull before you were ready, you can fix that in the next station. But if you brushed it under the rug, you're not fixing it even in the next station, and you keep doing it. So the evolution to what you want is dumbed down. So that's just a brief description there. But as far as the top shooters, yes, top shooters are humans. So top shooters are doing this also because they're human beings and they're not any different than you or I. They still put on their pants the same way. They still have anxiety in their life. They have fear. They have worries. They have doubts. They have misconceptions. They have anger. They have regret to different degrees depending on their personality type. But a top shooter, are they going to try to forget about it and move on? Yeah. Are they going to potentially bear down and try focusing harder, which to me reminds me of I don't know, it's like Superman with X-ray vision. They just try staring harder at something, which isn't total focus and it's not total engagement with a good mind game. But
Right.
a top shooter some of them are gifted and talented just by nature for what it's like, a 5-year-old that can get on the piano and next thing you do, they're playing this great music. So there's a lot of top athletes that are mechanically inclined, that it comes very natural to them. They're gifted at it. And I'm sad to say, but they don't have to even practice as much as somebody who's down in the lower ranks and really has to devote a lot of time and energy to getting better. So for the majority of people to even compare themselves to a top shooter isn't necessarily even fair to themselves. But yeah, top shooters have all the same human issues that everybody else has.
Yeah, I can say from experience, I know early on it was almost crippling because I'd be looking at the scores, and I know probably Jason and the other guys we shot with did the same thing. You can think so hard about, oh man, I really wanted to finish with, this number, and I know if I drop 3 more targets, I'm not going to hit that number, and that can absolutely be crippling to you to kind of focus on that, and then you're worrying more about that than you are on the target that's coming out of the trap. So, not a good place to be.
It's not, and there's there's strategies around that. There's ways of actually being more of a supervisor of your mind and more of a manager of your mind than feeling like you're a victim of your mind. And I had a PGA pro that I worked with at one point, and he was one of the ones that would avoid his score because he would get too anxious and he would try too hard. So there's a top athlete right there that would do the same thing. And so he would know where the leaderboards were on the course, and he would avoid even looking at them. And so what he ended up telling me was that when the cameras, the Golf Channel or whatever, would come and start to record him playing, it kind of messed with his whole plan of ignoring his score, because the cameras only come if you're in like the top 5. So by the cameras showing up and recording him, he knew his score, so sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And he would fall apart. He would end up trying too hard, or getting too anxious or whatever else. So when I helped him using hypnosis, I actually reversed it. So the suggestions that he got were, when the cameras come, you feel great. You're proud of your success. You can see how far you've come and how great your mechanics are, and you're on the PGA Tour, and there's an opportunity for you to share that with not only your friends and your loved ones, but people all over the world. And so I just flipped it completely, and that's what happened. Is when the cameras came, he then felt good about it. And so it's just, a perfect example how a top athlete can end up, being too focused on their score. It causes so much anxiety. You try to bear down, you try to focus harder, and you just end up messing up unless you can look at it differently.
Yeah, we're all human.
Right. Don, our next question, this gentleman or lady has asked to remain anonymous. They say, Don, I am an A-type personality with a touch of ADD. Oh my God, this person's me. And that gives me 2 problems. One, when I miss a target I feel I should not have missed, I get very frustrated. And 2, I have a hard time staying focused, especially late in a round. What is something I can do to ease my mind and help me stay focused? So that's a 2-part question, but do you get where they're going with this?
Yeah, that's easy. First of all, most people that come to me claim to be type A. They typically are like go-getters, get things done. They own a business, or they're an executive. They're used to, being in charge, delegating, making things happen. They have success because of it, things like that. That's a very common kind of mindset for people that come to me, because that mindset doesn't carry over well into clay target shoot, and it doesn't carry over well to a lot of sports, because you can't come in trying to force your agenda. You can't come in trying to make shots happen or force shots. You have to have this experience of knowing how to let go at the same time that you're fully engaged. And so somebody with type A isn't familiar with that. ADD, this person just needs to recognize they're part of the 80 percentile of the planet that believes they have attention deficit disorder. Like, we are so bombarded in our society nowadays with, social media and texting and TV monitors all over the place, and, neon flashing signs and billboards, and there's so much activity. And the way that your conscious mind works is it focuses on one thing at a time, but it can jump around a lot. So there are a lot of what I say are shiny pennies. So shiny pennies, the conscious mind's like, ooh, what's this? And then it's cool and it's exciting for a little while, and then you kind of throw it over your shoulder and you're on to the next shiny penny. And that's how your conscious mind is. It's really, it gets bored with things easily. That's why you can miss targets if they're boring and monotonous and the same old thing, and you can lose focus by them being boring and monotonous. But that doesn't mean we're all diagnosable with ADD. But
Right.
I think it's an extremely common thing right now for people to not know how to focus well, and it's the biggest reason they reach out to me. So just moving on through the questions, this person mentions that they shouldn't miss, and they get really angry about it. Well, I tell my clients that as soon as you say the word should or shouldn't, your ego is involved, and that's one of the things I teach about is ego. I teach about the conscious, subconscious, unconscious, and the ego. And the ego, we all have ego. So we're all thinking unknowingly that we're the center of the world. So if I'm driving to my club and I think it's a 10-minute drive, I've not allowed any room for, road construction or traffic or anything. And then I can get annoyed by those obstacles because I should be able to get from A to B in 10 minutes. Right? That's as if nobody else exists on the planet. So when a person says should, it's an immediate red flag to me that their ego is involved. So then we can look at the rest of that sentence there, and they're saying I shouldn't miss. Well, that's extremely unrealistic, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we should miss sometimes. Like, it's never going to be perfect all the time. But again, your ego thinks that way. So will set you up for being angry all the time. Like, there shouldn't be road construction. This person shouldn't have cut me off. This person shouldn't be talking to me when I'm shooting. These people shouldn't be driving by with their loud side by sides, when I'm on these grounds. This person shouldn't be telling me how to shoot. I didn't ask them, when I'm coming out of the cage. And these are all things that can make somebody upset, but it's their ego doing it. And so being upset that you're missing is unrealistic. And then also, like I answered in the first question, misses are golden opportunities to see where you're at and what you can do to advance forward. If you're getting upset with every miss, then you're missing an opportunity for growth. So what I teach is a post-segment routine is to be able to look at the miss and gather those gold nuggets and be like, what can I learn from this? Because I can either implement it immediately and improve my score, or I can practice it in the upcoming days and weeks and improve my score. Right. So it's very, very valuable information. So a person, absolutely, if they have that mindset, won't be mad about the misses. I mean, it's weird at first for somebody competitive to not want to be upset about a miss, but to look at it that way and look at it in the long term, and that's a very constructive way to look at it. The other thing about focusing hard and ADD, like every person that comes to me for training, and people that probably haven't yet, that don't even think the mental game's important, they're struggling with focus in one way or the other. And what that is the chatter, and it can be a lot of different things. It can be thinking about the past or the future, or overanalyzing the moment. And I call those the 6 channels of the conscious mind. Like, it can be daydreaming, it can be doing all these different things. And because the conscious mind's been doing that for so long in your life, it's like an untrained dog. And I say it's like a dog who's been running on acres of land, and all of a sudden you want it to be domestic and in your house, and it needs to be trained. And that's what the conscious mind reminds me of when somebody says they have ADD. It's been running around rampant and not being managed or controlled. So it takes time to teach it to sit and heal, and you have to be patient with that process and know that it's something to be learned. Like, you can't just wish it to be there. You can't just decide you're going to focus better on Saturday. You have to learn how to do it, and you have to get rid of the obstacles that are keeping you from doing it. And I call those the 6 channels of the conscious mind. Gotcha. And then there's one more thing, and that's being late in the round, losing focus. That could be related to the chatter and inability to know how to focus, know how to manage their mind. But it also can be related to what I call the 7 elements to peak performance. And so there's like whether you're hydrated or not, whether or not you slept well, whether you have eaten food, which is your fuel, your mental thoughts and the quality, if they're negative. There's several things that, let's just go with whether you're hydrated or not. If you're not hydrating throughout your round, you will lose focus as the day goes on. It's just physical. It's a true thing that will happen both with your eyes and with your brain. The same thing with your food. Like, you can lose focus because you're coming off of a sugar high, or you can lose focus because you're in a carb coma, or you can lose focus because you've skipped meals and you literally are out of fuel in your body. Same with if you've not slept well, or if you drank alcohol the night before, or if you're just negative altogether. That's very draining as well. So again, more things that I help my clients with. So in order to have their peak performance, you have to address all of those things.
Gotcha. No silver bullet, huh?
No.
Well, Dawn, we greatly appreciate you coming on. We've had, like I said, we've had a ton of questions for you, and we're going to keep them handy, and we're definitely going to get you back on here in the near future. We got a few more coaches we got to rotate through, and then we'll come back to you. But really enjoy the time, really enjoy having you on, and thank you so much for doing this. I had talked to you the other day. You said something about a shoot you had coming up.
Yeah, my club, Amelia Shotgun Sports, I have shoots once every a quarter. I have one actually this Saturday, and then a few more coming up here. We do sporting clays and super sporting typically. This time we're also offering 5-stand. I don't have concrete details as far as the next event related to what we're going to offer, but if it goes well with the 5-stand, we'll probably offer that again with the sporting and super sporting. But it's Amelia Shotgun Sports, and we use Score Chaser, so you can find our events on Score Chaser and you can register there. And we do, back to class and Lewis and the class options, and obviously you can get some punches.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys need to throw some American Field Sporting events too. I'm telling you, that's huge. That's really becoming something big in our sport, and it's a lot of fun.
I'll look into that, see if I can do that on the property.
Yeah, you know what? When we get off the phone here, if you want, I can text you Mark Baltazar's number, and he was just on the show here a little bit ago. He'd be more than happy to help you with that.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Well, we're gonna
I'm open.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, it's a lot of fun.
Yep, definitely.
But once again, Don, thank you very much. We're gonna run. The show's running a little long here, but we greatly appreciate your time and your help. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
well,
thanks, Don.
I definitely love what you guys are doing. I love to help anytime.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Don. We'll be talking
Thank
soon,
you.
and I'll send you that number here in just a minute.
Okay, doke.
All right, see you, Don.
Thanks, Don. I was quiet through that because I was listening to every word that woman said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm completely blown away the knowledge that these people have on here, and I hope people are taking this and putting it in their memory bank, and you can always access these podcasts as kind of like a storage unit, if you will. I've said it 100 times, and I'll say it again. Sean and I are just two idiots behind a microphone, but our job is to get the right people on and get you the right information, and ask the right questions, which thankfully you all are sending in questions for the coaches. So
yeah, and she got a lot of questions. I was actually really surprised at how many people were focused on that and not so much
the mechanics,
the mechanics and the gun stuff and the questions for the coaches kind of thing.
Right.
So that's good on her. She's definitely putting out good information for everybody that we can learn from.
Absolutely. Well, Sean, what's next for you, buddy?
This
weekend?
I'm going to try to take a break this weekend. Might go out and do some practice. I've got a tournament the following weekend at South Cuyahoga, the Rainbow Charity Shoot for the kids. Going to try to do that, and then a lot of stuff coming up this summer. Obviously,
see, that's totally the wrong answer.
What?
First of all, you need to be focused on shooting.
Okay,
and you need to be taking a new guy shooting or gal.
And I do actually. I was supposed to go out tomorrow with a couple guys in my business group, and one of them had to cancel because of work obligations. But we're rescheduling and going back out. I've been trying to take a new person out about once a month. That's what I've been able to do. So
that's very good.
Trying to get more people hooked on the slippery slope, so to speak.
Yeah, the crack cocaine of sporting clays.
It is, and it never fails, man. Everybody I take out just leaves with a big smile on their face, grinning ear to ear.
Well, I challenge everyone, take somebody new shooting. And before we go, thank you very much to Game Bore, Negrini, RE Ranger, Atlas Traps, and Bear Pelt. They help us bring you these shows every week, so please patronize them, visit their websites, buy their products. They're great products.
Yep.
Everybody we have supporting us is people that we believe in, products that we believe in, and it's products that we use personally.
Yeah, and thank you to all of our listeners. We wouldn't be here without you guys. It's always great. The more that Jason and I travel around, go to these shoots and stuff, we have people coming up to us all the time, thanking us and appreciating us, shaking our hands, telling us what a great job we're doing. And man, that means so much. It means more than anything else to us, and we really appreciate it.
It really does. And please do not hesitate. Send us those questions for the coaches. Please keep them coming in.
Yep.
I know we've got a lot of mental trainer questions, as we've discussed a few times on this show, but Kevin DeMichael, Mike Luongo, Bill Elliott, Julia Stallings, Don Grant. We've got 5 coaches, whether you're looking for a female coach or a pro coach or a level 3 instructor or a mental trainer. We've got it all. All you have to do is ask those questions. Send them to us, email. You go to our website, go to the contact button, send us an email, hit us up on Facebook or Instagram, send us a message that way. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
And Sean Alley, we will see you next time on
the Dead Pair Podcast.